Hey there, welcome back to High Infidelity, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to channel for more spicy stories. Now, let's get into today's story video.
I think my marriage is over. I'm not sure what I'm aiming to get out of this post. Perhaps moral support, advice on how to negotiate the road ahead of me. How to move on. Anyway, let me get started. Please be advised that this is a lengthy post. For reference, I'm 33 years old and my wife is 27 years old. We've been married for 2 years and have been together for 7. Almost all of my wife's 20s had been spent with me. We do not have any children. We've never had any serious squabbles or disagreements. I always made it a point to resolve any difficulties that occurred. Never go to bed angry, my parents told me. And it's something I've always tried to live by. My low testosterone and dysfunction have been the only big issues. My libido pales in comparison to hers. I made an attempt to explain it to her. I want to have, but it's occasionally like being asked if I wanted to go watch golf. There is no interest. It's something I didn't try as hard to fix as I could have. My doctor ordered testosterone injections, but since I'm terrified of needles, I didn't take them. My wife is the same way, and she refused to inject me. As a result, I counted on the small blue pill to deliver. And she didn't want to know when I took it so it might seem natural. This placed a significant strain on our romantic relationship. Aside from that, we've always been content. I acquired COVID in early August and was isolated for 7 weeks, long tail, by myself. She went to see her folks. This was an almost 2-month ordeal for me. I just left the house to get tested again, and when the results came back positive, I went right back home. The cabin fever was palpable. Every day after work, my wife came over. She'd drop groceries on the porch, then sit in her vehicle in the driveway, and we'd simply speak for a bit. I was most looking forward to those 30 minutes. It was the only time I had with a human being. We had an argument over the energy bill one day. She told me I was using too much and that I needed to be cautious since I wasn't working and wasn't being paid, and money was right. This enraged me unreasonably. I was aware of what she was spending her money on. Clothes, shopping, eating out with friends and family. None of this worried me in the least. I understood she needed to do things while she was away from home, and we had more than enough money to go out to eat on occasion. I had never disclosed any of this spending to her, so her picking at the utility bill upset me greatly. I was there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a month, therefore the cost would be more. As a result, I made the wisecrack, I suppose I'll simply turn everything off then. I realize it's childish. I immediately regretted saying it. I knew she was mainly concerned about the expenses. I apologized for my terrible handling of the situation and expressed my frustration at being caged up. She didn't say anything to me for 3 weeks. Didn't bring food, didn't contact to see how I was, didn't respond to my SMS. Nothing. When I eventually tested negative, I contacted her to tell her that we needed to speak, that I was negative, and that she could come home. She said she was going to see a female friend out of state and that we'd discuss when she came back. We chatted about a week later. She informed me that she would not be returning home. She said that she no longer loved me and that the relationship was finished. Boom. Just like that, out of nowhere. She said I didn't speak her love language, that she required physical contact, and that she had just fallen out of love with me. I had no understanding what love languages were, and I mistook her need for physical contact for a reference to my erection difficulties. For example, I had never heard of the book on love languages. So I looked it up on the internet, found it on Audible, and listened to it at work. Twice. As a side note, I cannot recommend this book highly enough. If you're in a relationship, considering beginning one, or even if you're single. This assisted me in understanding what my wife needed to feel appreciated. I love you isn't always sufficient. If nothing else comes from this marriage, This information will be useful in my future relationship. Armed with this new information, including the fact that I had a love language and she hadn't been expressing it, I invited her to lunch so we could discuss. I informed her that I had read the book and that I now understood her, and that we could completely repair this if we wanted to. When I inquired whether she understood my love language, she looked like a deer in the headlights. She had not expecting me to ask that question. I emphasized that neither of us has been taking care of one another's needs, and that if we both sincerely wanted to start, our marriage might be salvaged. Nope. She said that she no longer had romantic emotions for me. We'd make wonderful friends, but it's over. I was devastated. My wife conveyed to me during my confinement how she and a male common friend, someone I've worked with and known for 12 years, had begun walking together to reduce weight. I honestly didn't think anything of it. He's a married man with children. My wife and him went through job training together years ago and connected. They've been friends for a long time. I'm sure you can guess where this is headed. I was unconcerned at the moment. But, in retrospect, the red flags should have smacked me above the head. My wife came to the home a week or so after our previous conversation to collect a few items and asked if we might go for a drive. She was depressed and wanted to chat, so I obliged. Then she informed me she was upset because her friend's wife would no longer allow him hang out with her. Alarm bells began to sound. When I inquired why she wouldn't allow them see each other, she stated it was because she suspected them of having an affair. When I inquired whether they were, she responded no, they'd never done anything. I questioned her why the wife would assume they were having an affair, and she said that they had spent 5 or 6 days a week together from the beginning of my quarantine. My wife even purchased their children gifts when visiting a friend out of state. The other lady tossed them away right immediately. He simply makes my life so full, she said to my face. It hit me like a ton of bricks. My wife informing me, without doubt or guilt, that another guy makes her life full. I told her she needed to be honest with me and tell me whether she regarded him as more than just a friend, and she answered, that doesn't matter. That should have been the end of it for me, but this lady is my wife, and I felt obligated to attempt to rescue our marriage until it was formally ended. For a time, we didn't discuss much about our relationship, but we did hang together more regularly. In the back of my mind, I knew she was spending more time with me since the other man's wife wouldn't allow them see one another any longer. The other wife found me on Facebook and phoned to tell me what she had discovered and to ask if I knew anything. She said she had left a recorder in his vehicle and had a tape of them at least kissing, if not more. They weren't talking, but she could hear movement. That stung. She also said that she and her spouse are attending marital therapy and attempting to repair their relationship. It was a wonderful conversation, both of us were suffering, there was no animosity or hatred between us. My wife came over to my place a few weeks ago to catch up on a program we'd been ignoring. Like she was departing, she said, "I love you," as she usually does, and I replied, "I love you even more. We've always done it, from the first time we told each other we loved one another. This time was different because we both knew the I love you more statement was real." When we established eye contact, my wife burst out laughing. That border on hysterical. She approached me, held me closer than she has in months, and then sobbed. I held her till she calmed down little, and then we went for a drive since that was the greatest way for her to relax. We had a lengthy discussion. Things was the closest we'd gotten to genuinely attempting to solve it. She said that she had believed that leaving me was the best decision for her, but now she had no clue, that she didn't know what she wanted or what she was doing, and that she just needed time to work things out. Before she moved back in with me, she suggested marital therapy, and I assured her that it was a must. I assured her I'd go to any length to try to repair it, so long as we made an effort. That night, I left feeling quite positive that there was yet hope. Just a week later, she was back to her it's over for sure mindset. So now we're stuck in this strange waiting game. I'm still, foolishly, waiting for her to return home, while she's waiting for her lover to divorce his wife. Meanwhile, she and I are still hanging together. She calls and asks if we can go somewhere since she's lonely, and I foolishly accept. I told her she should definitely stop doing this since she's simply hanging out with a buddy when we're together. I'm spending time with my wife. I went to my doctor after she departed and was prescribed antidepressants and testosterone. I asked my doctor if she could inject the medicine for me once a week, and she does. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm not sure whether it's due of the happy pills or the testosterone. In terms of my marriage, I'm still holding to something that is most likely no longer there. My whole future plans revolved on this lady. I couldn't wait to see our children. I couldn't wait to meet the mother she'd become. I could hardly wait to spend the rest of my life with her. Traveling, growing old, having grandchildren. All of it. And now I'm alone in the home we purchased, with no clue what my future holds. I'm at a loss. That's where I'm at right now. As I previously said, I'm not sure whether this qualifies as infidelity since she did leave me. Though I'm sure she had an emotional attachment with him when I was confined. And perhaps before that. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for taking the time to read. I realize it was a long and winding story. But it did help a little to get it all out. If you have any recommendations, words of wisdom, or words of encouragement, anything, I could really use it right now. Thanks. Update: I've told my wife no. One piece of advice I kept hearing in the last post was to tell her no when she wanted to hang out and to cease being accessible to her whenever she wanted. So I went to where she was staying for the holidays. I wanted to wish the individual she's staying with a Merry Christmas since they've been friends of mine during the last 7 years that I've been with my wife. My wife and I had presents to exchange as well. To achieve this, we headed to her room. She got me several clothing and a wallet, which she buys me every year. I bought her a pair of costly Funko Pops of her favorite TV show characters. She shook her head and giggled as she glanced over at her desk at a video game. I took a look at the game, which she had purchased for herself when I was visiting her a few weeks ago, and inquired what she was laughing about. "It isn't the copy I purchased for myself," she said. She was essentially telling me what the other guy had gotten her for Christmas. The boldness of it all astounded me. As if it were some kind of competition. Never mind that each of the Pops I purchased cost the same as the game. She then said that she wanted to go for a drive and asked if I wanted to accompany her. "No," I said. "So you're just going to go home and do nothing?" she said. And I replied, "I'm sure you're going to play video games." I told her I didn't believe we should hang out anymore since she had previously told me what she wanted months before. And if we're really done, I need to get going. She shrugged and replied okay as dismissively as she could. That was the end of it. We haven't talked since I got home. I just wanted to let you know about it. I realize it's a little detail, but I don't feel like I've won anything here. But I know this is an essential step if I'm ever going to get out of this funk I'm in. Update 2. I went mainly no contact shortly after the start of the year. We didn't eat anything, and the most of our chats were entirely business related. Can you tell me the password to my Allstate account? Or do you know where, insert item, is? We would sometimes spend a month or more without speaking at all. I realize this isn't the absolutely no contact everyone requested, but it's the best I could do. Despite this, I still, foolishly, hoped for reconciliation. That optimism faded as the months passed, and I gradually realized that the marriage was finished. She is still waiting for the other guy to leave his wife and children, but he hasn't done so and doesn't seem to be willing to do so. But she is certain that he would select her one day. Her and I went to the courthouse today to submit our divorce papers. She isn't fighting for the property or any money, so it should be a simple and straightforward procedure. Now all we have to do is wait for the court to pick a date for us to meet a judge. She said once again that she wants to remain friends and that none of this was easy for her. I informed her that I couldn't be her friend. I can't simply pretend that everything is okay. Perhaps one day, but not anytime soon. And, moreover, if she gets her way and the other man abandons his family for her, he won't want her to visit me anyhow. I'll do anything I want, she replied. So I said, even if you get everything you desire. If he abandons his family and chooses you, are you going to disregard his sentiments the same way you ignore mine? She didn't respond. Most of our friends and family are aware that we are no longer together, but many are unaware of her involvement with the other guy. I know the prevailing opinion was to expose her so that everyone would know the truth. Those who need to know are aware, and I am content with that. I'm thinking of creating a Facebook post simply stating that we filed for divorce. I'm not going to go into specifics since those who need to know the truth already do, and I don't want to stir drama before we meet the judge. I've had a difficult day. Most of the time, I'm just depressed. A lot of things I thought I'd gotten over have resurfaced. Mostly, I'm simply heartbroken that the lady I love is no longer among us. Because I no longer see the lady I married when I look at her. That lady seems to have died a year ago. Anyway, it seems that this chapter of my life is drawing to a close, and the process of healing and moving ahead can now begin in earnest. I'm not sure how long it will be until I attempt dating again. I feel like I need to be completely done with this before I attempt. The next lady does not deserve to be knee-deep in my baggage. I need to relearn how to flirt and date. Please wish me luck.